in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. And we'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Rebecca Cooksey.
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our first item is the enrollment report, also by Rebecca Cooksey.
I'll just keep rolling along. So for our TK through 8th grade students, we have 14,029 students. In ECE, we have 539 for a total of 14,568 students. This is a gain of 40 students from our last board report and a gain of 307 from the same time last year.
Fantastic. That's always good news. Thank you very much. Also, we have a community forum on universal pre-kindergarten immediately following tonight's meeting, just so everyone is aware. And next, we're going to do presentations, requests, proposals, and reports. The superintendent profile review by Leadership Associates.
Thank you very much. And I believe actually Leadership Associates, though they're not here this evening, shared some information about their summary for the superintendent search and the profile. I believe Mr. Giles was provided that information. So if you wouldn't mind sharing, or were you?
I spoke with them this morning. Basically, they took all of our profile questions. You weren't here for that, were you? We all talked about what we wanted in the superintendent. We gave them this list of like 8,000 things because we're trying to get as close as we can to you without, cloning you. So basically, they put all that together with all the stuff, and they just came up with basically a checklist of what we want. So that's basically, we're just moving forward with that. And I think they sent that, email that out to us. We should all have it, I think, with all of our wants and needs, I guess. So with that, they're moving forward. I think it's they put the EdCal add in to yesterday's, and I looked at EdCal and it was in there.
Oh, good.
So we're on the map, and they said they've got. And I talked to Fred, and Fred said he's got some good candidates already requesting information. So
Great. Well, sounds like we're all on our way, and so that the board and the audience members understand, the profile information will be instrumental in helping to guide and inform the interview process, as well as the screening process for qualifications and readiness to move on to the next phase. So thank you very much.
Well said. That's what I meant to say.
And I would just like to add that I was very pleased to see that all the different stakeholders and groups had a lot of the same interests and wants in the superintendent and in the search. So it was neat to see that. A lot of people in the district are on the same page. So great to see that.
Yes.
And thank you to everyone that participated in that also as well. Okay. Next, we're going to have addressing the board. Board members will be utilizing electronic devices during the meeting to assess the online agenda, and an electronic device may be used to record this meeting. Individuals who wish to address the board may complete a speaker card and present it to the superintendent's secretary. The board president shall recognize individuals who wish to speak. Individuals wishing to present testimony to the board concerning specific items on the agenda may do so once that item has been moved, seconded, and is on the floor for discussion. Time limits of 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes per item shall be allowed, according to Board Bylaws 9322. And board members may ask questions for clarification purposes. However, no action may be taken and no discussion may take place on an item not on the posted agenda. for the Brown Act. With that, we have, do we have any comments from PTA,
None this evening?
CSCA,
I do not believe we have no request from CSEA.
TAL?
I see Mrs. Whipple making her way to the podium.
Good. Yeah. All right. Good evening, everyone. It's really nice to see everyone. Speaking on behalf of TEL, I want to say that the teachers have been working harder than ever, as I'm sure you all know. I'd also like to thank the board members, Diane, Keith, and Dwayne, for attending the school board's meeting this weekend, the CTA school board luncheon, which was virtual. It was nice to see you, even though it was just on the screen. So thank you for that. I want to make a comment. I want to bring to everyone's attention, I think we all are aware that we have students that tune in to the board meeting. And I teach 8th grade, as all of you know, and so they are very much aware of what the school board meeting is because we talk about it openly in my classroom. And I did promise them that I was going to address some comments that have been made here at the board meeting regarding the LGBTQ community and our students and staff, actually. So I want to say on behalf of the teachers to the students that despite what the public comments have been made here at the board meeting, we do support our LGBTQ community, both students and staff. So I would just like, people to understand that when they come here and make hateful comments, they're public in a way that they have not been in the past before social media. And the students definitely tune into those things and they're hurtful. So I would hope that people would take that into consideration. The other thing that I wanted to take a moment to just publicly honor one of our teachers, one of our town members who passed away a couple weeks ago, Sharon Garcia. I was very lucky to know Sharon. She worked at Endeavor. She's been with the district for 7 years. She was just a very positive person, very happy. The students loved her. And it's been a great loss on our site. So I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge her. And I know her family's going through a lot right now as well. And it's been difficult for us at Endeavor. So thank you so much for your time and have a nice evening, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Next, we have comments from the audience.
Thank you very much. We do have requests for speakers this evening. The first is from Carla Galvin.
Hello, good evening. My name is Carla Galvin. I am a mother of 4 kids that attend the Lancaster and the Antelope Valley School District. I am here to tell you that mask mandates need to end. Masks do not stop the spread. They are ineffective. Kids are forced to wear masks all day long in school, indoors, now outdoors as well. Please make it make sense how our children can eat indoors, arm's length of one another without a mask, but can get an education without one. Does COVID suddenly disappear while they're eating? These picking and choosing of wearing mask situations are an abuse of power and it needs to stop. There should be no reason why our children can't breathe fresh air. My 6-year-old child should not have to be asking me if her teacher still likes her because she chooses to exercise her freedom of choice. My 6-year-old should not have to ask me if she can get expelled for not wearing a mask. My child should not have to be scared to breathe fresh air because the staff will tell her she's not allowed to do so. My kids are not being given an opportunity to have a normal school experience. Governor Newsom makes our children believe that they are dangerous and sick when in reality they are healthier than most adults. This is not our children's responsibility to bear. There is no state of emergency here in California. Newsom, Mayor Garcetti, along with others, just showed us all by attending a football game at a stadium with more than 70,000 people in attendance. No mask, no social distancing. It is completely hypocritical. This should piss off every parent. This is not about safety. It is about control. Unmask our children and let them breathe. If these individuals can attend a football game without masks, our children can get an education without one as well. These individuals, along with all of you that are allowing this kind of abuse to our children, are fully responsible for every tear, for every child that goes to school with fear, every child that is scared to stand up for their freedom of choice. You are responsible for every hopeless child that comes home feeling defeated. Stop abusing our children. What is next? Segregation for not complying to this abuse? Each and one of you on this board has the power to make change, but you are choosing to do nothing. You're committed to these nonsensical mandates instead of being committed to our children and their well-being. Parents, I encourage you to take a stand for your children. We are all they got. This is not a co-parenting situation with these individuals. These are our parental rights, and we don't fight. And if we don't fight for our children's freedom now, by the time they are our age, there will be no freedom left for them to fight for. Stop these nonsensical mandates. And one more thing. These pictures here are proof of the mask extension for my children. Because if the governor that tells our children to mask themselves are not wearing a mask, then my children do not have to wear a mask either. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have another request from Shaylin. And I'm sorry, I didn't pronounce your last name, but I will leave that to you so that we get it correctly. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sharon Garcia, and I'm a parent of two beautiful boys at your school district. First off, I'd like to thank Mr. Giles and Mr. Cheapy for joining other California school board members in signing Mr. Kevin Kiley's letter to end the state of emergency. I challenge the rest of you to join in that. I don't have a list of statistics. I don't have a list of I don't have numbers. I don't have articles to present to you. I'm sure you guys have piles of that. And you also seen what's going on in the local media. But what I do have is an experience of a concerned parent. Sorry, this is doing something weird. I have experience of a boy who was excited to return to school, but had to endure back-to-back 10-day quarantines. He lost his shine because he fell behind due to those quarantines. I have the experience of a boy who has a speech delay, who has regress because he can't see how words are being formed and said or facial expressions. I have experience of low diagnostic test scores showing they are 2 grades behind, but he will still be expected to be ready for middle school next year. So today I'm here to say it's time. It's time to move away from these COVID protocols and focus on these kids' mental health and learning loss. It's time to vote yes on today's vaccine mandate resolution to the state. It's time to make masking a choice. It's time to let these teachers be teachers and do what they love. There are 4 months left in the school year. You guys are the decision makers, and you have the opportunity to do right by these kids and teachers before it's too late. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Keith Boyette.
Thank you. Good evening. Hello. So I'm here on behalf of my fiance, Mickey Martinez. She wishes she could be here to, give her side, which she loves to do. It's her favorite thing to do. So here she says, Catherine Barger released a statement yesterday seeking reevaluation of COVID-19 masking policy in LA County. She stated, I strongly believe individuals should be allowed to make an informed choice about whether or not to mask up. I hope state and local leaders take this into consideration and reevaluate indoor and school masking mandates now. Excuse me. Wow, I hope she doesn't get canceled for that. Wow. Masks are harming children and staff members. For example, my fiance was given a mask exemption. It's under review. I don't know. That's kind of weird, but it's still under review. She had to miss 3 days of work. It was a sinus infection. But pre-COVID, she would have just worked through that issue. But it's hard for her to wear a mask. She gets anxiety from it. And then when she has to take off, it's unpaid sick days. No money, no problems. So we had to make the decision to pull our son out of the school district because of all this abusive masking mandates. Wearing a mask all day was emotionally abusive to him. He's kind of a sensitive child. But he would come home really sad and depressed, isolate himself as if he had COVID, but he doesn't. But he couldn't breathe. I mean, you all get it. No one wants to wear a mask all day. That's stupid. So it's proven that masks don't work. I'm wearing a piece of cloth on my face. Do you guys accept that? That's weird. I don't know. But the inconsistency of that, what type of mask, which one's appropriate? I mean, you guys would be freaked out if I walked in like this 2 years ago. Why is he covering his face? So mask should be a choice. Someone with a weak immune system wants to wear a mask. That's their right. People who don't want to wear a mask for more than 6 hours indoors should not be required to do so, kids or adults. So, along with the masking being a choice, getting the COVID-19 vaccination should also be a choice. It should remain the parents' choice, really. So, please speak up and fight against the forced vaccination. Because, if you're this scared of COVID, maybe you guys should quit your jobs. Maybe you guys should go isolate. Maybe you guys should go social distance. Because, we're done with this. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have two letters that were sent in. I just want to make sure that the speakers aren't here, and I'm happy to read them. So the first is from Laura Lott. Laura Lott is not here. So this was received, and I'll read this on her behalf. Good evening, and thank you. Good evening, and thank you for letting me address the board tonight. My name is Laura Lott Fuson. I would like to take a minute to talk about the proposed vaccine mandate for students in the Lancaster School District. I have had students in the Lancaster School District for 20 years. My children have attended Jack Northrop, Linda Verde, Sierra, Endeavor, and now Lava. My children are Lava this year because I don't believe it is healthy for a child to wear a mask all day, and I don't trust that my child will not be given a vaccine without my consent. I am also a foster parent. I've had 14 children stay in my home, and my husband and I have adopted 3 of those little ones. Did you know I cannot give my foster children a haircut without their parents' approval? Because even though these parents have been found to make poor choices regarding their children, they are still their parents and still have rights. If one of my foster children needs therapy or services provided under an individualized education plan, I don't have the authority to sign for that. The parents have to. Again, because they are the parents and have rights, even though they have been found not to have made the best decisions regarding their children in the past. What is being proposed is that my children would be required to have a vaccine that has been proven to be ineffective in preventing or spreading the coronavirus. The long-term effects of this vaccine have yet to be seen. I have sent my children to school for 20 years knowing they have been among unvaccinated children. My children currently in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade would still be going to school with unvaccinated children. They would just be going to school with children who the government felt should get this one vaccine. A child currently enrolled in school cannot get their yearbook picture taken, go to a school dance, or check out a book from the library without parental consent. But it is being proposed that a minor student can choose to get a vaccination without parental consent. Does anyone see the lunacy in this? A minor child cannot get a library book without parental consent, but they can get a vaccine that is not effective, is being used for a political agenda, and has not been around long enough to know the long-term effects. One of the district beliefs is, and again, in quotes, we believe all children have the right to a quality education in an environment free of racism and any other form of discrimination. End quote. Discrimination definition, the unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things. Discrimination especially occurs when individuals or groups are unfairly treated in a way which is worse than other people are treated on the basis of their actual or perceived membership in certain groups or social categories. It involves restricting members of one group from opportunities or privileges that are available to members of another group. My children are currently being treated differently. I am currently being treated differently. This would divide my personal household as the vaccine requirement excludes foster children, migrant children, and children with an IEP. So my son is excluded, my 2 foster children are excluded, and my 2 daughters have to be vaccinated. Does this make sense? I think it is absurd. All of these children live in the same house and would be segregated in their safe place. Is this what you want to teach our children? That blindly letting the government or a school board decide what is best for them is acceptable? That they can't be treated equally in their own home? I am urging you, the board members, to start to turn all this negativity around by voting to approve the resolution to ask the governor to rescind the vaccine requirement for in-person education. And that completes the comment from Laura Locke-Fusen. And I have one more request for comment, and this is from Laura Giles. Laura, are you here? Okay. Dear Lancaster School District Board members, thank you for putting a resolution on the agenda asking Governor Newsom to rescind the vaccine requirement for in-person schooling. I urge you to approve this resolution tonight. You don't have to be a scientific expert to oppose a mandate that is not equally applied. The governor's mandate excludes migrant children, foster children, and children with an IEP. While I disagree with mandating vaccines for any child, it certainly seems that this mandate, in addition to being unequal, is also poorly thought out. Children that are required to be vaccinated would still be attending with unvaccinated children. So what does this accomplish? The governor also totally ignores natural immunity. Even the CDC has issued a statement saying that natural immunity provides 6 times the protection that the vaccine offers. He should be offering exemptions for adults and children with natural immunity. While I am disappointed this resolution does not speak to that, it still addresses the issue well enough. The vaccines are now preventing the vaccinated from catching COVID or transmitting COVID. The vaccines are now not preventing the vaccinated from catching COVID or transmitting COVID. It only offers protection from more serious outcomes. If you listen to the wording the experts are using now, they are careful to say vaccines offer increased protection from COVID. The Supreme Court has ruled President Biden's mandate for businesses as unconstitutional. Businesses like Starbucks have even begun to hire back employees that they had fired for not getting vaccinated. It is time to end all mandates. I would like to address the masking of children outdoors at recess and for PE. Did you happen to notice the Rams game Sunday night? Barbara Ferrer has decreed any gathering over 5,000 people a mega gathering. I didn't notice any of the players, coaches, or referees wearing masks, even though they are outdoors and not socially distanced, as she requires for her school children. Did you happen to see the pictures of Mayor Eric Garcetti, Governor Newsom, among other celebrities and public officials in large crowds unmasked? Once again, requiring masking of our children indoors, outdoors, and for recess while they themselves parade around unmasked. I want to thank Mr. Giles and Mr. Teepee for signing the letter to the legislator drafted by Assemblyman Kevin Kiley regarding the COVID restrictions. I submit to you a letter signed by over 600 physicians regarding the COVID restriction effects on school children. In the event some of you are struggling with the idea of questioning the LA County Health Officer, I point out to you that she is an appointed official with a PhD in social work, not medicine. I submit to you a letter signed by over 600 physicians regarding the COVID restrictions' effects on school children. It might benefit you to hear from physicians. The letter is entitled An Open Call to Restore Normalcy for U.S. Children. I ask you as our elected representatives to contact our health officer and the California Department of Health regarding these mandates and restrictions on our children that are not equally applied to public officials or large sporting events. I am not asking you to make any scientific judgments. I'm asking you to have common sense about what you see with your eyes and hear with your ears. You have heard from school children, teachers, health clerks, and duty aides about the bloody noses, the headaches, and learning difficulties that our children are experiencing from masking for long periods of time. It's time to take action. Thank you, Laura Giles, and that completes the comment request this evening.
Thank you. And thank you for all the input. We greatly appreciate that. And we will take that into consideration as we make future decisions. Thank you. With that, concludes our comments from the audience. And next, we are doing individual action items. Superintendent, we have adoption of resolution 2021-22-16, board member compensation for missed meetings for Sandra Price. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Moved by Diane Grooms, second by Keith Giles. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Motion carries 4-0.
I'm sorry. I believe it was 3-1.
Oh, 3-1.
Yes. Okay. With Mr. Nguyen voting nay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we have item 12B, adoption of resolution 2021-22-17, request to the California Department of Public Health, CDPH, and California State Legislature for reconsideration of the proposed COVID vaccine mandate. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Keith Giles, second by Diane Grooms. Okay, any discussion?
Yes. I think it's time to push back in a way that reflects personal choice. We have staff members who have told me that they would rather be tested weekly for COVID than get the vaccine because of their own immune system. I've had many messages from parents, people that I know who have said their fear is that the vaccine is untested on young children over a longer period of time. And I agree with that. I really wholeheartedly understand the need for personal choice in something that is this invasive. And so for that reason, I'm going to vote in favor of this resolution. I would like a couple of changes, but I'll let other people talk first and then I'll bring up those changes.
Great, thank you. And any further discussion?
Yeah, I also will agree with Diane in the fact that I know 2 teachers that are teaching daily, both of them with cancer, and their doctors have told them, you cannot get a shot, you cannot get a vaccine while you are taking chemotherapy. But they don't want to give up being a teacher. So I think it is time to look at the vaccine mandates. The Supreme Court's overturned the president on the businesses. And I, like Diane, will support this resolution.
Thank you, Dwayne and Diane. Keith?
I just wanted to thank Dr. Bowers for writing up the resolution for us. I think it's been a long time coming. I think people are finally starting to see what's going on here, and I'm glad that people are starting to use common sense. Thank you.
Well, I have to say that I was using common sense in the past, but when it comes to a mandate of this nature, which didn't occur until October, that's what has gotten my attention. Other layers of safekeeping and protection, I still feel are important for the time being, and everything is for the time being until I know more. But I have a fundamental belief in personal freedom and parental choice for children, and I really think that this is important from that aspect. I have two changes that I'd like to make. Should I bring them up now on the resolution itself?
Yes.
To it. Okay, on page 1, the fourth whereas, it says, whereas Lancaster School District has closely managed all COVID-19 reported cases among students and staff, has very limited rate of transmission on campuses. I think it should say reported cases among students and staff, and has very limited. So I think we need to add an extra comma and, because we're keeping track of every person that's on our campus in regards to the reported cases. So just that tiny thing. And then on the second to last whereas on page 1, where it says, whereas according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, school-age children are less likely to contract and transmit COVID-19 and are less likely to have serious outcomes when compared to older populations. I would like to strike that paragraph completely because I don't want to speak for the Centers of Disease Control. I would rather them speak for themselves.
I think it's what they say.
Okay. Any discussion on Diane's proposed changes?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept Diane's revision. Or do we have to vote on the?
Actually, you don't. The motion has already been made, so when you approve, you'll approve with the amended recommendations, with the proposed recommendations, and we can make those changes as long as all of the board agrees to make the changes. So that's where it's open for discussion, that the board members would need to agree to make those changes and approve it with the changes, or approve it as is, or with one change. Whatever you'd like to do. So the first change that she discussed was just a punctuation change, and that's an easy thing for us to make that correction. That second change, whether or not to strike that statement about the CDC, is where we need direction.
Yeah, can you reread that phrase and the proposed change?
Sure. It reads as follows. Whereas, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, school-aged children are less likely to contract and transmit COVID-19 and are less likely to have serious outcomes when compared to older populations. That's the correct one. Okay.
That as a fact. And as a school board member, I don't have the data to back that particular sentence up.
Now, is that on the CDC website? Is that where that was from?
Yes, from a while ago. I don't have it in front of me, but yes, it has been.
If you look at the CDC website, that is one of their facts that they report.
I believe it was actually part of the language that was up for consideration with the other resolution, because it's been there for quite some time. It's been it's been reported that way by CDC for quite some time.
My statement is such that I'm not only concerned with their children, I'm also concerned with our staff and with their families. And we all saw the huge uptick over the holidays. And I have to believe that a lot of the transmission was due to families being together, and entire families became ill. And so I don't know for a fact they're less likely to contract and transmit it. All I care about is that staff member or that grandma who does get it. And there are children who have had it and who have transmitted it. So from that standpoint, I just don't think that adds to our argument.
Do we have a second to make those changes?
Second.
Oh, I think Diane was.
You just said we didn't have to have a motion.
Yeah, we don't have to have a motion to make the changes. You just need to have consensus that you want to approve the resolution with any changes that are being proposed. So I believe what Mrs. Grooms is suggesting right now is that the entire
The second to last
statement be stricken. So we can do it that way. If there's just any language that you want to modify, that's fine too. I will say that different variants may respond differently. So we don't have all of the data on how each group responds to the various variants. So that's definitely information that has continued to evolve, because with each variant they see different changes, and I believe that much of this goes back to the Delta variant, the response to Delta, and maybe not as much addressing Omicron.
Well, I personally wouldn't have a problem making those changes to the resolution. I think my main concern is to have parental choice, and I believe parents know what's best for their own children. So I would not have a problem making those changes.
Parents and staff all know what's best for themselves.
So with that,
So is there consensus to strike that one?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Giles? Okay.
I believe the statement to be correct, but if that's gonna get us through, I'm okay with striking it. I think it still has enough there to, at least we have something to present, so. Thank you.
okay. Any further discussion? All right, we're going to bring the item up for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So that's all in favor, just making sure we're on the same page. All in favor with the corrections to the whereas, the punctuation corrections, and with striking the second from the last whereas on page 1.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really pleased that passed. I think it will send a great message to our county and to our state. And we thank all staff and parents for your input on that. Thank you. Okay, next we have individual action items, educational services, approval of 2020-2021 school accountability report cards. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dwayne Nguyen, second by Diane Grooms. Any discussion?
So this is an annual event for us to approve this school accountability report cards. This year, the state did have they typically populate most of those fields for us. I think they're experiencing staffing issues as well, because there was one section that you see didn't get populated at this time, but the state did want to continue to keep the February 1st timeline requirement. So that's why it's coming up for board approval tonight. And as soon as the state can provide us that, while we'll upload those tonight to meet the deadline, we'll repopulate that section, or not repopulate, but we'll populate that missing section. And we would not have to bring it back for approval according to what CD is suggesting. Oh, and the data, because it's a year behind, we're not unable to give the CASP last year. So the data reflects our local assessment that we use at the diagnostic. So that's the data that we have for math and language arts.
I know there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into those report cards. So hats off to everyone who's involved in that. And it's a great reflection of what our schools are doing. Great work. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, next we have our consent agenda items, superintendent, items 14A to 14E.
So moved.
Moved by Keith,
Second.
second by Dwayne Nguyen. Any discussion? I just want to say I'm real pleased to see the donation to Fulton and Alsbury, the makerspace supplies by AFRL. That's a great thing. So I know they're going to put those to good use for sure. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motions carry 4-0. Okay, next we have item 15, consent agenda items, business, items 15A to 15F. Do we have a motion?
So I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Dwayne Nguyen, second by Diane Grooms. It's nice to see the completion items on there. That's great. Any questions or discussion on any? Okay, no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, next we have item 16, consent agenda items, educational services, items 16A to 16G.
So moved.
Moved by Keith Giles,
Second.
second by Diane Grooms. Okay, any discussion or questions? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motions carry 4-0. And that brings us to item 17, consent agenda items, human resource services, item 17A. Do we have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Dwayne Nguyen, second by Diane Grooms. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, next we're at item 18, a legislative and policy discussion. We have the second reading of update to board bylaw meetings and notices. And with no major discussion, we'll move on to comments from the board. And let's start with Mr. Giles.
Okay. Thanks for everybody that's still here and for hanging out with us. I'm glad we could pass the mandate, and I really appreciate all the speakers that talked about mask mandates, and everybody's using their experiences and their their expertise with their own kids to know what's going on. And I appreciate their heartfelt plea to us, because I know it's not easy for people to come up and speak in front of the board. I've heard how hard it is, and people are intimidated, but I want to give everybody props for doing it respectfully and honestly. And I thank you for that. And with that, I will, since we're going to start on our next meeting, I will leave with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giles. Next, we have Mrs. Grooms.
Yes, I too appreciate the information on the support of the vaccine mandate review. I think we are at a point where the vaccine is pushing a limit to personal freedom. And I really do feel that if every other business can somehow get it through the courts, that they don't have to comply, why should school districts? We're a business too. And I think it's very important for us to give all of our children an equal opportunity without limitations. I am still believing in masks, but the vaccine takes it to a whole different caliber as far as I'm concerned. So I just say let's tell the governor this is enough. This is not appropriate. Every parent still has the choice that if they want their child to be vaccinated, they can be 5-0, and that choice is still there. And so I do appreciate that. I'm looking forward to our next forum meeting and all of the information that we'll be acquiring with that.
Great, thank you. Next, Mr. Nguyen.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you to Gina. I think she's left, but thank you very much for the invitation to the High Desert luncheon. That was virtual, but we got to meet with board members from Adelanto and Victorville area and across the High Desert, which was very nice, and got to learn a few things. One of the big questions was about COVID and how each of the districts are handling COVID requirements. And I think the consensus, and I'll let Diana explain that also, was the fact that the school boards, the board members, have nothing to say about the government of the state of California mandating what we do or don't do. And I would urge all parents that have the speaker cards and speaker for their children to please attend a county meeting. There's where the mandates are coming from. And I would urge you to contact the governor, especially after this last weekend. It stands to reason that the schools are like the bottom of the list when it comes to what the governor wants to do. So I would urge the parents, guardians, to attend a meeting, or at least send your letters to him and or to Kathleen Barger, who sounds like she's having a change of heart, and make sure they understand where you're coming from. It's very important to all of us. Thank you for that. And Mike Davis, Charles Coleman, thank you both very much for your, I keep seeing a lot of people rehired, hired, and being promoted to teachers and substitutes. And we got a district that is committed. And we are committed. The board is committed to making sure that the children are attended to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wynn. And I'd like to reiterate that there's been a lot of great points made at our board meetings, and definitely the county and the state need to hear those same points. So I agree. Definitely urge you to talk with your county representatives and state representatives, let them know how you feel. And I'm excited that we did pass this resolution, and we will definitely send this on to the state and the county and let them know as a board, we support parent choice and staff choice on this matter. And so we appreciate that. And we're glad to see this move forward. A great meeting tonight. And again, I want to say appreciation to all the input for the superintendent profile that was put together. It was neat to see all the different groups come together, and Michelle's definitely got some big shoes we're going to have to try to fill. So thank you for all the great work you've been doing and everything you've done for our district. Again, can't say it enough. Yeah. Also, I had one more idea I wanted to share. At the CSBA conference, last thing we were at in December, they had some electric buses, and I've talked with Diane and some people from the transportation agency, and they don't quite have the range that they need. But I understand the transportation agency uses the buses for several different schools. And so I wanted to see if Mr. Freeze or could maybe do a little study to see what if it would be feasible if we got one bus for each school that needed it. If we used our electric solar panels to charge that, because the company that makes these buses is here in Lancaster. It's BYD. So if this bus was actually at the school site, and then if the driver just drove that bus to pick up the students for that school and then just returned it right to the school site.
That's not how it works. It's a special charging unit. You can't take it from the solar panels there. And each bus and its route is probably accessing all 3 school districts. Just as an FYI.
Oh,
we
yeah.
have 9 electric buses right now, and only 2 of them are working.
Oh, okay. So it's a
multiple
thing.
And it's a special charge port that takes
Yeah.
multiple wattage to charge them.
And it's the range. The school bus is typically going to drive about 140 miles a day.
Yeah.
Whereas the in-town, it's much easier, but these same buses are also going to pick up high school students, to pick up kids that are further out.
Almost
So it's
dormant,
a combination of those issues. It's not just the charging issue.
So I was wanting to know, like, if they were able to just do students for that school site or a little more limited, if the range would work out. Because I think the buses, were 150-mile range, but I don't know. I just want to know if we might be able to do a study to see if that would be
We've got that
feasible.
through the transportation agency. We have all of that information.
Oh, okay.
But the range is if no heating's running, no air conditioning is running, and you're not going
Real
in
fast.
excess
Right.
number of miles, can't be charged in the middle of the day
Right.
at this point. That's
Yeah.
the problem.
Okay. Well, just a thought. I don't know if that would be a possibility, but would be interested to maybe get a report on it or some kind of presentation.
I'll get a report from
Okay.
Mr. Uslett.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, I think they're getting closer with the range. They're just not quite there from what I understand. I kind of follow it too because we have a business that uses trucks, and I've ordered an electric truck for myself, but the mileage is further on a pickup than it is on a big heavy 60,000 pound vehicle.
Yeah,
But it is very interesting. I would like to see a report. That would be cool.
Well, how it functions in the Antelope Valley is going to be different than how it functions on coastal
Right.
area, just from our altitude.
Right. Everything's harder up here.
Much less going in the mountains around here. So
Right.
what we can do is give you the exact data of what's been happening with the buses that we've been using here and the limitations.
Okay.
And I think that's more pertinent than data. We've talked with BYD, and we're glad they're coming along. And I talked with them down at the school conference. But the actuality is in our area and the way we have to route and dispatch buses right now, it's not feasible. And then when they don't work, they don't work.
Yeah.
And when you have 9 and only 2 are working, there's something wrong.
Yeah. And what brand name are the ones? I just kind of like to know, in general, what brand we're using and which ones don't work, which ones work, just because it's interesting stuff. And
It is. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. And Ms. Powers?
Thank you very much. Just a couple of things. First of all, I would like to make the board aware that next week we will be celebrating and honoring our school counselors as part of National School Counseling Week. So big shout out to the many school counselors that are really doing amazing work at our schools, and it's so very much needed, especially right now. There's lots of students and families that are being supported by them. So it's a great opportunity for us to say thank you for the work that they're doing and just to recognize and celebrate them. So thank you to our school counselors that are out there. Also, just a reminder for those that might be interested in joining the community forum, if you go to our Lancaster School District webpage, there is on the scrolling banner there's a link and more information. We're going to focus around the topic of universal pre-kindergarten or preschool, letting everyone know about some upcoming changes and things to start thinking about for enrolling their child into our preschool or kindergarten programs. Important information, and now's the time to start thinking about that. And lastly, I would just like to ask that the board consider closing this board meeting this evening in honor of teacher Sharon Garcia from Endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bowers. And with that, we're going to adjourn at 6:58. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Keith Childs.
Second.
Second by Dwayne Wynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Great meeting, everyone.